Claire Osei woke up in a hospital corridor at 11:15 at night, and the woman sitting 3 feet away, coat still on, waiting, was the one person she had spent 4 years trying to beat. No one else had come. That was the part Claire couldn't account for, not yet. She knew exactly who Sarah Callum was. She didn't need introductions. 4 years at Meridian Architecture had given her a precise and operational knowledge of this woman. The half-second pause Sarah used before speaking in meetings, designed to make whatever came before it sound smaller. The angle of her smile when she walked into a room Claire had already claimed. Sarah Callum was methodical, composed, and relentless, and she never helped anyone she didn't need. So when Claire's vision cleared and she found her sitting there, arms crossed, a vending machine coffee on the seat beside her, watching, Claire's first thought was not gratitude. It was, what does she want? 6 hours earlier, Claire had been at the top of a ladder in the Meridian model room, reattaching a ceiling-suspended display panel for the Callaway Tower pitch. She had done it a dozen times before. The panel gave way, the ladder shifted. The rest was a 40-minute gap and a fractured left wrist. She was 37 years old. The pitch was in 9 days. Callaway Tower, 43 floors, the city's reclaimed waterfront district, a budget that changed what was possible. 14 months of work, her team, her name, her career sitting at its own pivot point. And her wrist was in a cast, her phone was at 4%, and when she'd scrolled through her contacts at 11 o'clock in a hospital corridor, there had been people, her sister in Portland, her friend Dana with a newborn and a husband on night shifts, her colleague Ben who meant well and would panic. She had looked at every name, and she had pressed, for reasons she still couldn't clearly explain, the one she least expected. Sarah had answered on the second ring, asked 2 questions, was at the hospital in 22 minutes. No request for context, no explanation demanded, just a coat and a vending machine coffee, and a willingness to sit in silence until it was time to drive someone home. That was the thing Claire kept returning to, not the injury, not the pitch, not the 9 days, the silence, and the fact that Sarah had chosen it. She hadn't always understood that Sarah was the threat. The first year, Claire barely registered her. Her team handled the middle tier, retail renovations, interior commissions, the steady work that kept a firm's lights on without moving its name. Claire's team ran structural visualization for the flagship contracts. The division felt natural, comfortable even, in the way that any hierarchy feels comfortable to the person near the top of it. What Claire didn't know yet was that clarity had an expiration date. The Callaway brief landed 14 months ago. Claire built her team around it from the first week, hired Tomas, a visualization specialist she'd been trying to pull from a competing firm for 2 years, reworked her load methodology from scratch, restructured her drafting schedule around the specific demands of the brief. She did everything right. She did all of it with intention. What she had not anticipated was the 6-month check-in. James Callaway, without warning, asked to see comparative structural concepts from both teams. Not as a competition, he'd said, as due diligence. The partners agreed before Claire knew the meeting had happened. She found out from Ben, who heard it from the admin coordinator, who saw the calendar update. 24 hours to absorb what it meant. Sarah Callum, half the resources, none of the preparation, 9 months against 14, would now have a seat at the same table. It shouldn't have been possible. Claire told herself that firmly on the drive home. She told herself that again 3 months later when she passed Sarah's workspace at 7:30 on a Saturday morning and saw the lights already on and the corkboard already dense with new work. She was still telling herself the week before the fall, At the mock presentation, when the partners went quiet in a particular way, the very specific quiet that meant something had surprised them while looking at Sarah's structural models on the screen. The pitch was in 9 days, and the woman at the center of every calculation Claire had made for 14 months was sitting 3 feet away in a hospital corridor at midnight, and she still hadn't asked for a single thing. What kind of person drove their rival to the hospital at 11 o'clock at night and asked for nothing? She was discharged at 12:45, minor fracture, temporary cast, follow-up Thursday. A nurse gave her a pamphlet with diagrams. Another handed her 2 ibuprofen and a paper cup of water. Sarah was still there. "I can call a car," Claire said. Her voice came out flat, stripped of the performance she usually maintained around this woman because she was too tired to keep it up. "I drove," Sarah said. "I'll take you home." She looked for a reason to say no. She was aware precisely and without comfort that every reason she could find was petty. Her car was at the office. It was nearly 1 in the morning. The ibuprofen hadn't touched the ache yet. "All right," she said. The city was quiet and wet from earlier rain. Sarah kept the radio on, low, a late-night jazz station, the kind of music that fills a space without requiring anything of the people sitting in it. Claire watched the streets past and tried to locate her gratitude, which she knew was somewhere beneath 4 years of careful, necessary distance. At a red light, Sarah said without looking over, "The wrist, will it affect the pitch?" There it was. Claire turned to look at her profile in the amber light and felt the short, lean answer rise up. "I'll manage. Closed. Professional. Final." She didn't use it. "I don't know yet," she said. Sarah nodded once, said nothing else. The light changed. Claire looked back out on the rain-wet street and thought, that is either the only thing I've said to this woman in 4 years, or it is the first sentence of something I don't yet understand. She couldn't decide which. She couldn't let the question go. The next morning, she was at her desk by 7:15, wrist aching, working through it. Tomas had emailed at 6:50. He'd heard through Ben. His message was 4 words, "Tell me what you need." He told him. He did it. That was the shape of the morning, lean, concentrated, no wasted motion. The first real blow came Thursday afternoon. Atchison called her in and delivered it in the tone he reserved for facts he personally found uncomfortable. The Callaway client team had requested a preliminary review of both pitches before the final presentation, 4 days before the pitch. If it went badly, there was nothing left to catch her. One question: when? Atchison said, "Thursday of next week." She thanked him. She left. She stood in the corridor outside the conference room and gave herself exactly 45 seconds, just breathing, just standing, and then went back to her desk. The second blow arrived at 4:15, and it was more personal. Ben forwarded an email chain, accidentally, he said. She was no longer sure she believed him. 2 partners discussing the structural load analysis from both teams. Careful, measured language. The conclusion was not careful at all. Sarah's team had found a methodological approach that solved a weight distribution problem in the Callaway brief that Claire's team had routed around. Routed around, those were the exact words, not solved, routed around. She read it twice, closed her laptop, walked to the kitchen on the 3rd floor, and stood at the window with a cup of tea she didn't drink. The city moved below, ordinary, indifferent, the full machinery of a Thursday that didn't know and couldn't care. She let herself feel it, the full weight of 14 months, meeting the possibility that she had spent them solving the wrong problem, while a woman with 9 months and a different instinct had walked straight to the answer. She held it until the tea went cold. Then she called Tomas. "The distribution model," she said. "Can we rework it?" A pause. In 5 days? In 5 days. A longer pause. Yes, but I need 3 people and I need them tonight. She got him 4, and just like that, Claire was facing the final stretch of the most important project of her career. Fractured wrist, ticking clock, and a solution she hadn't found yet. If you've ever watched someone do everything right and still feel the floor disappear beneath them, stay with this. What happened next is the part that most people never see. It was late on Friday when the evening broke open. Not loudly, not with the shape of a revelation, but with a moment so quiet it nearly didn't register at all. 6 hours in the model room, Tomas and 2 drafters still at it, the good, concentrated silence of people past needing to be managed. Claire stepped out for water and found herself standing, without having planned it, in the corridor outside the 4th floor. The floor was empty. The overnight cleaning crew moved through the far end of the hall. She stood in the amber quiet and looked through the glass partition at Sarah's workspace. It was smaller than hers. She had never noticed that before. One long table, 2 workstations, a corkboard dense with index cards and printed elevations, no assistant station, no secondary render setup, just the essential core of the work, everything non-load-bearing already cleared away. In the corner of the table, beside a stack of red-line drawings, sat a small photograph in a plain frame. 2 children in hard hats standing at a building site, grinning the way children grin when they have been told they are allowed to be somewhere important. Claire stood there longer than she meant to. She thought about the email chain, the weight distribution solution, what it meant to look at someone for 4 years and see only competition, and what else might have been visible if she had ever thought to look a different way. She thought about 14 months of Saturdays, about a corkboard with no room left on it, about 2 children in hard hats grinning at a camera someone had pointed at them, at a site that was still just a hole in the ground. She thought about how much of a person could be invisible if you were only looking for the parts that threatened you. And then, without intending to, she thought about a Tuesday night 2 years ago, a print room, midnight, a junior analyst on Sarah's team named Rafe, young, strained, staring at his screen with the fixed expression of someone who had lost the thread so completely they were considering not looking for it again. She asked what was wrong. He told her. She sat down and spent 40 minutes walking him through the problem until it broke open cleanly. He thanked her. She said it was nothing. She had meant it. She had not thought about it since. Sunday morning, Sarah appeared at Claire's office with 2 coffees and a rolled set of drawings under her arm. Claire looked up, looked at the coffees, said nothing. "The distribution model," she said, setting 1 coffee on the desk without waiting for an invitation. "I heard you're reworking it." She sat down, not tentative, not performing anything, just sat the way someone sits when they have already decided the conversation is happening. "I have the original load calculations from the structural engineer Callaway used in his last project. His methodology is specific, idiosyncratic even. It took me 6 weeks to reverse engineer it." A silence that held its shape. "Why are you showing me this?" Claire said. Sarah met her eyes with the steadiness of someone who had nothing to hide and no interest in theater. "Because your approach and mine solve the same problem from opposite directions. Together they answer it completely." She unrolled the drawings. "I've already spoken to David. We're presenting as a single integrated proposal. Credit split evenly. I wrote it that way in the brief." Claire looked at the drawings, at the lines of Sarah's solution running alongside the ghost of her own, the 2 methodologies completing each other in a way that neither could alone. She felt the disbelief first. Underneath it was something she hadn't prepared for, something that felt quietly and without warning, like recognition. "There's one more thing," Sarah said. She set her coffee down. Rafe Mendoza is on the Callaway client team, has been for 18 months. He was the one who flagged your team's work to Callaway's assistant during the workspace tour. About a week ago, he asked me who it was that helped him in the print room 2 years ago. He said it was the night he almost quit. He remembered the work in precise detail. He didn't remember the name. She looked at Claire. I told him it was you. The room held still. Morning light came through the window at a low angle and crossed the surface of the desk. Claire had not known, not once in 2 years had she imagined that 40 minutes in a print room had been moving in any direction at all, that it had found its way through 18 months and a client team and a workspace tour, through a 4-year rivalry and a hospital corridor at midnight, all the way to a Sunday morning with 2 coffees and the one missing piece that made the whole answer complete. Sarah had not known either. She had driven to the hospital without knowing, had sat in the corridor without knowing, had come this morning with the drawings without knowing that the thread she was carrying ran straight back to a kindness she had never witnessed. Neither of them had known. That was the part that settled into Claire with the weight of something true, not the burden kind, but the kind that means something has finally found its ground. She had spent 4 years in the same building as this woman, sharpening herself against a rivalry that had been, beneath the surface, building towards something neither of them could have planned. Claire had not known, not once, that a single act, 40 minutes, a print room, a problem solved without a second thought, had been moving toward this room for 2 years. If this story is landing somewhere in you right now, leave a word below. Someone else is sitting with the same question and needs to know they're not alone. The Callaway pitch was on a Wednesday, 53 minutes, 4 questions from Callaway, 2 technical, 1 about timeline, and 1 that neither of them had prepared for, what the building would mean to the people who had grown up along that waterfront. Claire answered it, not from her notes, from the months she had spent imagining the structure from the inside, the light through the eastern panels at 6 in the morning, the weight of the lobby spine, the specific silence a building holds when it has been made to last. Callaway nodded once, slowly, the kind of nod that doesn't promise anything but means something has landed somewhere it will stay. Meridian won the contract 6 days later. The credit was split as the brief had stipulated, evenly, without revision. Sarah did not contest it. Claire had not asked her not to. These were facts that required no discussion. What stayed, in the quiet mornings in the weeks that followed, in the pause between the end of one thing and the beginning of the next, was not the contract or the credit or the resolution of a rivalry that had turned out to be something else entirely. It was Rafe Mendoza, 36 years old, carrying 12 years of a memory he couldn't quite name, who had stood at a workspace tour and pointed toward work he recognized the shape of without being able to say why. He had not known the name, he had known the quality of the attention. He had carried it the way people carry the things that saved them, without examination, without accounting, without expecting it to ever mean anything beyond the night it happened. The cast came off on a Tuesday, 6 weeks to the day. Her wrist stiffened, then moved, then became ordinary again, just a wrist, unremarkable, doing what wrists do. She flexed her fingers at her desk and sat with the thought, there are things you give that you do not remember giving. There are currents you set moving that will not surface for years. And beneath all of it, behind the story, behind the rivalry, behind the hospital corridor and the Sunday morning and the pitch that changed everything, there is a hand that was present from the beginning, moving things you could not see toward a place you could not have planned. Somewhere, there is a moment you have already forgotten that has not forgotten you. Perhaps the question worth sitting with tonight is this:
What has been quietly moving because of something you did that you cannot yet see? This is God's Hand Stories, where every story has a hand behind it you didn't see until the very end.